Ukraine blinds Russia's Crimean air shield, turning $550 million defenses into ruin. Today, Ukraine executes one of its most technically demanding and strategically consequential drone operations of the war, eliminating a Russian radar shield, degrading layered air defense systems, and sinking a Black Sea Fleet patrol craft. Analysts estimate Russian material losses at more than $550 million, driven not only by destroyed radars, but also by the loss of the S-400's engagement radar, which left hundreds of millions of dollars worth of missiles effectively unusable. An initial 6-drone assault quickly escalated into a sophisticated engagement. This contest of precise physics, timing, and electronic warfare ultimately revealed major structural deficiencies within Russia's air defense system across southern Crimea. To understand how this operation achieved such an outsized impact, the story must return to its earliest moment. At 6 a.m., a Russian BK-16 fast assault boat sat docked at Sevastopol Naval Pier, engines off and crew unaware that 6 Ukrainian Beaver Strike drones were approaching Crimea's southern coastline. Their goal was clear: breach the radar ring guarding the peninsula and create an opening into the Black Sea Fleet's operating territory. Within 15 minutes, this mission would redefine the region's threat picture. Unseen by Ukraine, a Russian Krasukha-4 electronic warfare vehicle had activated 8 miles away. Its noise floor jamming instantly disrupted drone communications. The lead operator moved his control stick left. Nothing happened. Only after a 3-second delay did the drone react, nearly striking its wingman. At 95 kilometers per h, those 3 seconds meant 80 meters of uncontrolled flight. Enough to send the drone into the coastal cliffs if uncorrected. Telemetry confirmed the problem. Altitude dropping from 190 meters to 180, then 175. At 150 meters, impact was inevitable. The Krasukha-4 overwhelmed their signal, driving the link from 70 dBm to 110 dBm, just above the point where the drone would lose all control and crash. But Ukraine had adapted to Russian jamming over 3 years. The drones began frequency hopping across 40 channels every second. The Russian jammer required 50 milliseconds to analyze each hop. The drones changed channels every 25 milliseconds. The EW system continually jammed empty space, always 2 hops behind. The Ukrainian operator initiated a burn-through maneuver, concentrating maximum transmission power on a single frequency, long enough to restore a degraded but usable video feed. Through the static, he identified the 4-site radar complex positioned along 2 kilometers of coastline. Then a complication appeared, the antenna of a Tor M2 air defense system rotating into active mode. Inside the Tor, the Russian operator had spent the morning searching for mid-altitude contacts, moving 80, 120 kilometers per h, typical drone signatures easily engaged by 9 M338 missiles. But today his radar presented only ground clutter. Ukraine's drones were flying below 30 meters, exploiting ground bounce physics. Each radar pulse struck the Earth and returned with overwhelming intensity, masking targets completely. The operator switched to moving target indicator mode, filtering out anything moving slower than 40 kilometers per h. Ukraine immediately slowed to 35 kilometers per h, slipping below detection while still too fast to resemble civilian vehicles. Then terrain and infrastructure imposed a constraint. Power lines crossed the valley at 25 meters. The drones were forced to climb. The lead drone rose to 60 meters for 3 seconds. That was all the Tor needed. 6 contacts appeared on his scope at 2.4 kilometers, bearing 247 degrees. A 9M338 missile launched, accelerating to Mach 2.5, 850 ms, and closing a kilometer in less than 2 seconds. But the Ukrainian operator had planned for this. The drone dove sharply to 20 meters, beneath the missile's 15-meter arming threshold. Unable to activate its fuse, the missile overshot and self-destructed 8 seconds later. Russia had deployed 2 Tor batteries to cover the approach, but terrain forced them 3 kilometers apart, creating circular engagement dead zones within 1.5 kilometers of each launcher. Ranges where missiles were still accelerating and could not maneuver or detonate. Ukraine exploited this flaw. by maintaining a path exactly 1.4 kilometers from both tors. The formation threaded a corridor where neither system could engage. For 10 seconds, the drones had to fly straight, with no evasive movement possible. Any drift of 200 meters left or right would have put them inside a lethal envelope. At 95 kilometers per h, those 10 seconds stretched like minutes, but they passed through unscathed. Ahead waited a greater threat, a Pantsir S1. Its radar tracked all 6 drones. At 2.2 kilometers, ideal engagement distance, the Russian operator launched 2 57 E-6E missiles. The paired shot forced predictable evasions. The missiles flew at Mach 3, covering the first kilometer in a single second. The first missile's infrared seeker expected a heat plume around 600 degrees Celsius, typical of fighter jets. Instead, it found Ukrainian drones with electric motors running at 40 degrees Celsius, nearly matching the 38 degrees Celsius morning air. With almost no thermal signature, the seeker lost lock. The missile passed 8 meters overhead without triggering its proximity fuse, which was calibrated for metal aircraft frames rather than carbon composites. A second missile detonated 12 meters from the 5th drone. 3 tungsten fragments tore through its airframe, causing it to spiral and crash. 2 more missiles launched immediately. One struck directly, destroying the 3rd drone in a flash of debris. 2 drones lost in 5 seconds. 4 remained. The Pantsir shifted to its twin 30mm autocannons, each capable of firing 83 explosive shells per second. But Ukraine imposed unpredictability. Every 1.5 seconds, the drones executed a new maneuver. Roll, dive, climb, bank, never repeating a pattern. The fire control computer required 1.5 seconds of stable trajectory to compute predictive firing solutions. It never received them. The system aimed at positions the drones had vacated 2 seconds earlier. Switching to manual fire, the Russian gunner walked rounds across the sky. A fragment clipped one drone's control surface, forcing a constant left drift. The operator compensated while keeping the drone on course. At 500 meters, the drones dropped to 10 meters altitude, below the Pantsir's 5 degrees gun depression limit. Radar tracking broke. The vehicle could no longer engage. Russia's final barrier consisted of 3 Igla manpads teams positioned behind concrete barriers. The lead soldier activated his launcher, cooling the seeker to 196 degrees Celsius with liquid nitrogen to detect subtle heat differences. Yet the drone's electric motors emitted minimal thermal radiation. Over water, they vanished entirely. Over land, they appeared intermittently. The soldier fired anyway, but the missile chased atmospheric temperature pockets created by a morning inversion layer. It splashed into the water 50 meters behind the drones. The other soldiers withheld fire, knowing their chances were negligible. At 6:15 a.m., the first drone reached the P-18 Terek early warning radar, capable of detecting aircraft at 360 kilometers. Without it, Sevastopol's defenses became blind to long-range threats. The drone struck the antenna array, and its shaped charge warhead created an 8,000 m/s copper jet that cut through the radar's core. 20 seconds later, the second drone hit the Nebo-U long-range radar. Russia's crown jewel claimed to track stealth aircraft at 600 kilometers. Despite defensive fire, the drone impacted the phased array, turning its precision elements into scattered metal shards. The third drone, still compensating for its damaged control surface, targeted the 96 L6E cheeseboard engagement radar feeding the S-400 network. Without this radar, more than $400 million worth of missiles became unusable, expensive launch tubes with no targeting data. A Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft gun filled the air with 23 mm shells, but the drone broke through and detonated, collapsing the radar's capacitor banks and triggering cascading system failures. With surveillance, early warning, and engagement radars destroyed, the final drone headed toward the naval pier. The BK-16 patrol boat, used to transport 19 naval infantry, became the last target. Russian watchstanders opened fire with rifles and machine guns, but none could meaningfully engage a maneuvering drone moving 95 kilometers per h. The drone struck mid-ship below the waterline, The explosion fractured the hull, flooding compartments until the vessel settled into the harbour floor. By the end of the 50-minute assault, Ukraine had destroyed or neutralised early warning systems, long-range surveillance radars, S-400 engagement infrastructure, and a BK-16 patrol craft. Russian losses exceeding $550 million. The southern Crimean air defense picture collapsed, leaving the Black Sea Fleet exposed. Today's operation inflicted more than $550 million in Russian losses, stripping away Sevastopol's radar network, degrading Tor M2 and Pantsir S1 coverage, and eliminating a critical BK-16 patrol boat. The strike demonstrated once again that precision, adaptation, and low-cost systems can dismantle Russia's most expensive defensive technologies. The question now is straightforward. Without the radar eyes that once protected Crimea, how long can Russia maintain control over the Black Sea? Share your thoughts in the comments section below.